Hi, watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra, and just a few days left for US President Donald Trump's visit to India, and preparations are at full swing. All eyes are on the crucial trade ties, which can likely take place between the two countries, amongst other decisions. But just ahead of the visit, Pakistan seems to be in its frustrated mode yet again. Pakistan is now hoping that Donald Trump will act on his offer to mediate on Kashmir during his India visit. Pakistan is hoping that the United States will take some concrete steps on Kashmir issue, but the actual matter of concern is POK and not Kashmir. Time and again, NewsX has raised its voice to reclaim Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. We showcased a 15-point plan as to how we can get Pakistan-occupied Kashmir back. Now it is time to urge the Modi government to ensure that the US President takes up the crucial matter of POK and helps us in claiming back what is rightfully ours. And let's talk about this. Let's talk about this with our guest in the studio. Joining me to my right is Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian. We're also joined by Mrs. Sumit Peer, political analyst. Deshratam Nigam, foreign affairs expert, also joins me on the program. Mr. Bhanu Nagarajan of the BJP, also here. Bhanu, appreciate you being here. And Joyita, let me start by asking you that, okay, Donald Trump has time and again, without India appreciating it, offered to mediate between India and Pakistan. Who's going to tell him the difference that he's trying to negotiate for a place or a part of India which is legally, rightfully ours, whereas POK, which has been illegally occupied by Pakistan, comes nowhere under the US President's radar?
Well,
Joyita.
Oh, yeah,
I'll come to you, Bhanu.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that I don't think India will appreciate the K word being, uttered by Mr. Trump when he is in India. There are so many other things to talk about.
The K word.
The Kashmir word. I don't think there is any reason. I mean, let us hope he is not going to talk about Kashmir unless and until some pesky journalists like us go and ask him, what do you think of, why are you trying to mediate and all that. So let us hope that he is not going to, and perhaps, but having said that, I think Mr. Trump also needs a lesson in history, and he needs to understand, just like as in the US, in India also government policy after one level has to be driven by public opinion. And if he pushes the Kashmir matter too far, then the public opinion, which is anyway, it is not fully, is trusting towards Americans, will turn against him, and he will be doing a great disservice to India-US relationship, because there are several areas that we can work on in terms of trade, in terms of strategic interests. US wants us to be a counter to China. US wants us to be involved in the Indo-Pacific region. They renamed their command from Pacific Command to Indo-Pacific. So there are several other things to talk about. Kashmir is an internal matter of India. Mr. Trump, hands off.
All right, Bhanu, what do you make of this? Trump has offered to mediate approximately 6 to 7 times by now. And Pakistan, in all its frustrated glory, reiterated or made it clear on a public platform that they want Donald Trump to talk about Kashmir as well. Who's going to talk about Masood Azhar? Who's going to talk about Dawood Ibrahim? Who's going to talk about the FATF?
I echo what Joyita was saying. In fact, Mr. Jaishankar very correctly articulated that in his retort against Lindsey Graham recently, Senator Lindsey Graham. But I think even in the agenda for the summit, what has been put out by the External Affairs Ministry doesn't have the Kashmir issue there. So, but India and America being two largest democracies, we cooperate on so many fronts, like some of the things were mentioned before, from defense to space to security to technology and so on. So I think on trade, so there are multi-dimensional issues. I think the small differences will be crossed over, and substantial issues will be discussed.
Mr. Nigam, what do you make of Donald Trump offering to mediate between India and Pakistan? And the fact of the matter is that POK is something that has been brought up by the Home Minister, by the Defense Minister, and fleetingly sometimes by the Prime Minister as well. But we need to resolve that. We haven't taken Pakistan to the UN for a number of reasons. We can take them. especially the minorities and their treatment in that country. But they have a particularly good and a solid reason to drag Pakistan at least in front of the US and tell them, look, they have occupied this territory illegally, and the people who live in this part of the world are in fact exploited as well.
See, PO, JNK and Ladakh is an internal matter and governed by Shimla Agreement, being a bilateral issue. So I don't think India is going to take this issue to the UN, because we do not wish to internationalize it, nor it should be done. And India is capable of solving its problem whether unilaterally or bilaterally. The fact therefore remains, Mr. Trump may offer, we don't know, he has been doing so, but the fact US must also realize that today most of the Indians are favorably disposed towards America, and to raise a K word would be harming that particular goodwill and interest that the people of India have in US. And once you harm that particular interest, then everything else becomes secondary. Your trade will be jeopardized, your strategic convergence will be jeopardized. So I think they are very clever. They know as not to harm it and in any way raise it. Yes, there may be compulsions for Mr. Trump to show during his elections that he is the undisputed leader of the world and he can solve the problems of the world. But I don't think Indians will take it very kindly so far as the Kashmir issue is concerned. And as I said, that great goodwill that America has in India among the people of this country will get affected.
Okay, in fact, Sumit, I'll come to you. Mr. Achal Malhotra, former diplomat, also joins us on the broadcast. Mr. Malhotra, Donald Trump is going to be in India. A lot of things to in fact look forward to. There could be a trade deal, there could not be a trade deal. Donald Trump has said that there are 10 million people who are going to be in fact on the streets waiting for him. That's not true, but we know it. Donald Trump doesn't know that. The fact of the matter still remains that Pakistan is still a preferred what you call partner for United States, if I can call it that, because the US does have interests in that part of the world as well. They are pulling out of Afghanistan. They have struck a deal with the Taliban. In fact, we here at NewsX broke that news. 29th of February is the day when they in fact will sign that deal. They will need Pakistan a lot more once that deal is struck with the Taliban. Where does India fit in after that?
Well, India-United States relations should not be seen through the prism of US priorities vis-a-vis Pakistan or US's relations with Pakistan. We have our own, entire gamut of relationship with the United States of America. There is a broad canvas, there is a strategic understanding, there are political understanding. Of course, there are trade issues, trade deal may or may not be concluded now. But, in a larger context, we have security interests, the convergence of opinion, views on many security issues. We have common concerns in Indo-Pacific Ocean. We have defense deals. We have so many other things to do with the United States of America. So the Pakistan factor, as far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan unfortunately at the moment has a nuisance value for the United States of America, and that is in the context of Afghanistan, because Afghanistan has some leverage vis-a-vis Taliban, or at least that's how United States of America looks at Pakistan from USA's perspective. The USA would like to withdraw from Afghanistan because it is costing a hell of a lot of money to, and it's an election promise also, kind of agenda on the United States of America. And they need Pakistan for this, not only for negotiating this deal, but also making sure that the deal sustains later on. So the nuisance value of Pakistan will continue. That's probably one reason, in my opinion, why US appears to have gone slightly soft on the FATF, issue, where Pakistan has been retained in the grey list and not been moved on to the blacklist. In a way, it is good from our point of view that Pakistan has not been able to, manipulate being moved out of the grey into the white list. And let's see how it, pans out in the next 6 months. But, once again, I would like to reiterate that the framework of Indo-US relation is much larger, much bigger, and we don't have to link it necessarily with what USA is doing for Pakistan or appears to be doing for Pakistan, so long as it doesn't hurt our own national interest. And we are very firm. We have always been firm. Whenever President Trump has offered to mediate, we have very politely but in very firm words told him we need no intervention, we don't need no mediation. It's a bilateral issue. We'll resolve it ourselves. And I think that's how we should look at it.
Let me just add one sentence. I don't think it's the Pakistan which is on the table between India and USA. It is the China which is on the table. And that is what is binding India and USA. It's a China which is a competitor to the USA and challenge to the USA in the world. And therefore, India's interest converges with that of USA. So I don't think Pakistan will be discussed much. It will be the China, and that is bringing even the trade relationships closer.
Okay, Sumit, China is in fact going to figure in the talks between India and the United States, but the fact of the matter is that China is also an ally of Pakistan.
I think we need a couple of points here. First, point number one is that if you look at India-Pakistan prism, right now, what does Mr. Trump want? He has said, quote unquote, we have burnt $1 trillion in Afghanistan and got nothing out of it. So it's his electoral promise. He wants to move out of Afghanistan and he needs Pakistan for it. He has an election at stake. So, and if he is a good president, he has to save his $1 trillion, which I agree has got him nothing. So he has to move out of this. So in the short term, he will have some focus on Pakistan. Move away from that movement of withdrawing from Afghanistan. Pakistan is of no use to United States of America. There is no trade with them. Look, let's draw a parallel. $150 billion of trade with us, right? 25% of our FDI comes from United States of America. Highest overseas investment of United States of America is today in India. See the Indian diaspora who's strong, so strong. They are kind of deciding the US elections now, which is good. See the number of CEOs we have. Our retail market is $500 billion. Right, we are the fastest growing economy, and China and Pakistan have already aligned. So to counterbalance that, they need India, and let's not forget, the world's largest democracy and the world's oldest democracy are bound to be natural allies. See the way how Indians and Americans work together. See the way they gel together, right? But at the end of the day, President Trump is a politician turned businessman. He loves to negotiate. He will want to negotiate the best deal for America. Now it is on our goodwill, on our intellect, how much can we negotiate back from him, because he will care for American interests. That is what he is supposed to do. But the good thing about a deal or a businessman thing kind of a president is he's not a pure politician. You can cut any deal with him tomorrow. Just for hypothetically, if we want to take POK, we need somebody like Donald Trump to stay behind us, to be with us, because Pakistan has chosen China, China has chosen Pakistan, the alliance is already there. Now what is our option? We cannot go to Russia. Russia doesn't have that economy, that doesn't have that cloud. So we need the world's biggest economy to stand with us. We are natural allies, so we will align with the US, and geopolitically they need us, economically they need us, by trade they need us. Right. People to people connect, they need us. So democratically we are aligned. So there is a lot of things to do. As far as President Trump talking about Kashmir, we all know politics is a lot of local semantics, optics. He wants to be, guys, if you want, I can negotiate for you. But he says, sorry, Mr. Trump, we don't want you. Okay, not a problem. He wants to be seen, that guy who can break the world problems, who can settle everything in the world.
He wants a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, he wants to be it's an image booster. But mind it, Vineet, President Trump could have taken an adamant stand. No, I want to negotiate Kashmir, which he has not taken. So semantics, optics happens for local politics.
Even if he does,
he doesn't want. He does not want. Because India is more strategic.
Negotiations?
No, India is more strategic. What will he get from Pakistan? The moment you go to Pakistan, bolenge bhaiya lao, aid lao, kuch to do. With us, it is trade. If we open FDI multi-brand retail, $500 billion market is only one segment. Imagine the kind of quantum of money and trade we offer. So what does Pakistan got to offer? Okay, for today I want to withdraw out of Pakistan. I want to keep the jihadis happy. Let me keep them happy. President Trump is smart enough to understand this Pakistan Punjabi army is a bunch of jihadis, and I don't blame the people of Pakistan. I call them ex-Indians. They are ex-Indians. So ये जो लोग हैं ये ठीक है. But this jihadi Wahhabi Sunni Punjabi army, believes in terrorism as an international tool. We explored IT, they also do IT, international terrorism. How can you negotiate with somebody who does international terrorism as a state policy?
Okay, all right.
I don't think Prime Minister, President Trump is naive enough not to understand that, but he is playing to what suits him best at this point of time.
Okay, all right, Joyita, there's also a theory that the United States is extremely peeved and anguished with Pakistan for supporting China in this CPEC module. Now, that's another reason, perhaps, one is forced to believe that they are propping up India against the might of China.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you see, come whatever we might be saying, US, because of Pakistan's strategic location, US needs Pakistan. We may not like that fact, but that is something that we have to live with. And not just because in terms, and Pakistan is seeking strategic depth in Afghanistan. That is why Pakistan once basically is trying to elbow India out of Afghanistan, and US knowingly, wittingly, knowingly they are helping Pakistan in that process. So whatever we may be talking about India-US strategic relationship, about India being a counter to China and all that, we have to live with that. But as we have been discussing, India-US relationship is not about Pakistan.
Absolutely.
There is much more to India-US relationship. If that was not the case, and in fact, India-US relationship is also to an extent independent of China, because we are democracies, and let's face it, the fact of the matter is that, Trump needs India's help. Trump needs that kind of help from the Indian community to come back to power. At least in 16 states, if the Hindu American vote shifts to the Republicans, Hindu Americans have been traditionally voting for Democrat. So you see what happens then. Mr. Trump is home and through. These swing states, they really matter.
This is good news.
Yeah, so you see, that is one of the reasons why he is coming. In fact, that is his primary focus. For trade and all, he is talking about because they.
He said there might not be a trade deal right now.
Yes, because this the trade secretary has been being difficult, and we are also negotiating in terms of, because he is pushing big pharma and all that, which we do not want them to hurt our industry. But you see, the whole point is that certain democracies are coming together. When you are looking at, there's a squad concept that is coming together in terms of India, US, Japan and Australia. Now, China does not like that, but at the same time, you see, this is the need of the hour, because otherwise what is happening, in China is surrounding India. For our own interest, we have to be more active in the Indo-Pacific region. Of course, US wants us more active in Afghanistan. US wants our boots on the ground in Afghanistan, which we are not willing to give as yet. But here we can bring in the POK angle.
Yeah.
We will be willing to go into Afghanistan, but will you help us get back POK?
Yeah.
That is something POK, and when I am talking about, yes,
deal is a
if
deal.
you are talking about transaction, Mr. Trump is a transactional president.
He is the best guy.
Yeah, so let's also
cut
be transactional.
Yeah, cut the deal with him.
Okay.
So do it.
Okay, Bhanu.
As pointed out by other panelists, this is an election year for Trump. Okay, so he needs India in a lot many ways than what we can imagine. First is, even if you take the Taliban deal, it can't be successful without India's cooperation, number one. Second is, without the defense deal that are probably going to be cracked during this visit, the employment numbers are not going to come up in the manufacturing states of the US because of the coronavirus issue and other trade related issues. So number two. Number three, India is market to probably the biggest market apart from the US itself. For many of the tech companies, you take any big tech company, the Facebooks, the Googles and Microsofts of the world, and they are all big donors to political parties. So, and fourthly, like what both Sumit and Joyita pointed out, the Indian diaspora is extremely vocal. They are actually among the top group in terms of income and influence. They play quite a substantial role. Having said all of this, if you look at a strategic perspective, not only Trump, before him Obama, Bush and even Clinton, they tried to forge a larger US-India partnership that actually encompasses a lot more things. So they understood the strategic directions. In fact, like even Prime Minister Modi and President Trump, they have met quite a lot of times in the last few years. So they are keen on taking the cooperation forward. So there are so many interesting issues that are going to be discussed. And one of the things perhaps Trump wants to showcase is the way he can be among people, among crowds, and that is the reason he's talking about like 6 million people attending the event in Motera Stadium. He is perhaps enamored by what he saw in Houston in Howdy Modi event, when so many people turned up to listen to Prime Minister Modi. So there's a lot of goodwill at stake, a lot of jobs at stake, a lot of the security deals at stake during this visit. So I think it is going to be much more comprehensive than just talking about Pakistan or China, etc., etc.
Okay, it's going to be a lot more comprehensive. And Mr. Malhotra, is this trip only about optics for Donald Trump, or do you think he means it when he says that he's a big fan of Prime Minister Modi, but at the same time he's also taken jibes at the Indian government, saying that tariffs have been very high, they have not treated us well. What can one make of this trip? Donald Trump is good at confusing people.
Yeah, definitely. I think my own assessment is that this particular visit is going to be very, very high on optics, and it may not be equally high on deliverables. We were hoping for a trade deal, and almost everybody has given the hint, or even said explicitly that there is no trade deal or mini trade deal likely to be concluded this time. Even President Trump has been making some confusing statements. Sometimes he says, I'm going in for a big trade deal. Sometimes he says, maybe not now, maybe after the elections. But by all available indications, we are not going to have a so-called mini trade deal at this point of time. Now, this is a crucial election year for Donald Trump. He wants when he says 7 million people will be there to welcome him from airport to the stadium, I really don't know where did he get those figures from. And the idea, he is trying to exploit this visit to project himself back home in the United States of America to push his election prospects. That's one. So therefore optics have to be there. And in any case, with our own Prime Minister, this is a practice, this is a tradition. Any visit, state level visit, particularly when it's about United States or China, there has to be a grand spectacle. And this is a higher version of Howdy Modi in Houston. So the deals, there will be some defense deals, but that's good from it's good for both of us. We need some sophisticated, equipment, defense equipment. It helps the United States of America in promoting its own industry. So it's in mutual interest. Besides that, of course, they will go through the entire gamut of our relationship. There will be a review. There may be some, it's very, very traditional to sign some memorandums of understanding, some agreements, because to fill in some substance and content into the visit, always some agreements are ready for being signed during the state visit. But at the same time, this will be an opportunity to take a total overview of the relationship and the direction in which it is moving. You see, United States of America is President Donald Trump is very clear in his mind and objectives. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, he needs Pakistan to ensure peace and stability in that country.
Right.
And as far as India is concerned, he needs India to reconstruct and rebuild Afghanistan. They would like us to invest money for the reconstruction and rebuilding. We have already put in $3 billion there. They probably would like that our military presence is also there. We may put our military boots there, which we are not going to do. So Trump is very clear. He wants to move out because he thinks he has spent billions of dollars there, which is useless. But before he moves out, wants to move out in a manner which is respectable, having taken the credit for ensuring peace and security through a peace deal. But then later on, India comes in to fill in the gap for reconstruction and spend the money. So And so therefore the United States of America is very clear in its objective.
Right. Okay.
Then it needs India to counter China in Indo-Pacific.
Okay. All right.
And therefore it's promoting Quad.
All right.
So
all right.
their
Mr. Malhotra, Mr. Nigam.
it's not a secret.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Mr. Nigam, you want to make a point, and then we'll end with the Sumit.
See, the fact remains that what people are calling optics, it is symbolism, and symbolism is an important aspect of foreign policy.
It's a heavy word.
Everywhere in the world, and this shows 2 points: favorable disposition of the government of the day and the goodwill of the people, if you have such grandiose functions.
Okay.
So therefore this is very important, and the US also has to realize the
10 more seconds.
trade problem became when they removed the GSP.
Okay.
And increased the aluminium and steel duties, and then therefore India retaliated. So I think these are not such issues, because only 3 to 4% of the trade that India exports is only on the basis of GSP.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think no. I think
Then
you know,
Sumit.
it is not going to be just about optics. Although the big trade deal is not happening this time, but I think there will be a few agreements that will be signed, including defense and all. And there's a very high possibility that we may be again brought back under the GSP. If that happens, then we would say that this visit has, for India, it has been good.
Sumit, 10 seconds.
I think, Vineet, it will be naive to imagine a president of United States of America and the Prime Minister of India wasting their time.
Exactly.
You know, so we cannot say they won't want business won't transit. Quantum and quality might vary. The very important point which we have to understand about the President Trump is he means business. Prime Minister Modi means business. I want to just highlight one point. People always say, "Bhai, howdy Modi hua, this 7 million, 10 million, what did it give?" Let me give you the data. 5-6 years back, our mutual trade was $96 billion. Now it is $160 billion with a positive surplus of $25 billion for India. When Prime Minister Modi holds the hand of Trump and walks across, he is sending a message. I need business. I trust you. We are sending a message to Pakistan. We are sending a message to China, and we are sending a message to the world community. The business starts with the trust. Trust, chemistry, business, weapons, economy all will follow. But you have to announce that trust. What Nigam Sahab rightly said. You have to announce that.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.